You clicked on it. Now you have to stay here and see how we do Thanksgiving here at Blue Ridge Family Outdoors. This is going to be awesome. I didn't pull any punches this year. Every piece of cast iron I own. Casseroles, we've got turkey, we got smoked ham, we've got homemade biscuits, we've got desserts. This was the best dinner I've ever had at Thanksgiving. Be sure to watch the entire video because not only do I show you how we make the recipes, in the description below I'm going to give you every one of these recipes written down so you can enjoy them too, as my family does. Up bright and early, had the fire going before 7 o'clock, still dark. We need a lot of coal today. And it's pretty darn cold today too. Phone said 32, I think it's a little bit colder. Shannon, what do you think?
About the cold?
Fit negative 15?
I'm later, I'm good. Because I said I'd stop moving.
Anyways, a lot of work to do today. It'll be fun. Alright, first thing going on the grill, or it's my Weber kettle grill. We don't have a way to smoke anything. I don't have a smoker at the moment, but I will get one day. First thing going on is going to be turkey breast. Now we brine this, put a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper in a bag, roll all the air out of it, stick that back in the fridge 12 hours overnight, whatever you got time for. And that's pretty much it. And this is one of the easiest, best ways I know to cook just a skinless, boneless turkey breast. Also for Addison, because Addison gets upset if we don't have her ham every year. We got the ham. This is going on the smoker. It's preheating right now, and we're just going to smoke it to the internal temperatures like it's supposed to be. I think around 160 for turkey breast. Anyways, not very difficult, just takes time, but this is going to be one of the first things you're going to want to do because you want enough time. You don't want to rush this. You want to try to cook it as low and slow. I try to hang around about probably 250, 300 degrees ish, and we're going to go all the way up till it's time to eat. So let's get this thing on the smoker. Obviously you can see the ham here. We've got the boneless, skinless turkey breast here. This is indirect heat as much as I can make indirect heat on a 22-inch Weber kettle grill. Charcoal over here, charcoal over here. We threw a couple of chunks of hickory in there just to get some smoke going. Like I said, keep an eye on it, adjust your temperature accordingly on your flue, your lid, and just let this go as low and slow as you can let it go. And hey, we've had good results in the past with it, so let's get her cooking. All right, so we've got the turkey going, we've got the ham going. The next thing needs to go on the fire is going to be the green beans. So as stated, all these recipes are very, very straightforward, very simple. So all we're going to do, we're going to take about 2 pounds frozen green beans. Don't let it get away. And then we're going to take some low sodium chicken stock. This is 32 ounces, so I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and put it all in there because we're going to cook these for a long time. And it's about 8 o'clock in the morning, so we're eating at 3. I like to cook these things as long as I can cook them. The secret right here, good old ham hock. My wife does not like ham hocks, but she likes the flavor of it. So get that set down in there nice and toward the bottom of the pot, plenty of juice. We're good to go. This is ready to go on the fire. Alright, so next up is we're going to prep the dressing. So we're not going to cook this yet because we're not eating till 3, which is several hours away, and it's only going to take about an hour, maybe 2 at most, to cook in a Dutch oven, probably not 2. But I want to get all the flavors in the bowl mixed up so they can marry together. So first you see me cut up some onion and celery. I like to chop it up fine. Then we take it over to the fire, melt some butter, which goes into the recipe, obviously a whole stick, and I'm going to soften these vegetables because I don't like big crunchy pieces of stuff in my celery. After that, going in a couple of cans of chicken, cream of mushroom soup, 3 eggs, ground sage. I don't know how much. Let's put about, right now, sage is strong, probably about a tablespoon. We'll try that and see. Poultry seasoning, we'll go a couple of tablespoons of that. Salt, gotta have that black pepper. And don't forget, when you're cooking your vegetables, your celery and onions, put a little salt and pepper in that too. Make it taste good. Now we're gonna mix all this up. All right, so I've got everything mixed up really well, it looks like. Had to put a little bit more poultry seasoning, probably another tablespoon of it, and thyme, some more pepper. But if you look, it's moist, but not dry. So I want it to be just a little bit wetter than this. I mean, this is where you have to be careful. We put the soup in there, and that stick of butter kind of hydrates it. And I'm gonna put in about, I don't know, maybe a quarter of a cup chicken. This is chicken broth, and I'm just going to mix this up and just get it where it's just a little bit wetter. And we're going to set this in the refrigerator, and we're going to let it get happy, as I like to call it. Mix it up real well, let it get happy where it'll kind of make a like a ball of dough, I guess you could say. So that's pretty much it. So this is going on the fire in several hours, so just give this some time in the refrigerator after you make it. It's going to make it work out better. Right, it's 10:15. Me and Shannon have determined that it is indeed cold enough. Shannon's sitting over there by the fire. I've determined it's cold enough outside. I'm gonna go ahead and start putting some more of these recipes together. I'm gonna set them in the shade, and they're gonna be just fine. So let's get going with hash brown casserole. This is a double batch. Should be in the recipe and the link as the rest of the recipes, but double batch. 2 sticks melted butter. And this is really good for you too. 4 pounds or 2 bags frozen hash browns. 16 ounces of sour cream. The double recipe is actually calls for 2 cups of cheese, but we put about 3 cups. So 3 cups of cheese. Give everything a really good mix, and it's ready to go. Whoops, I put too much cheese. We're only wanting to put 3 cups. I think I put more like 5, so that's an easy fix. We're out here camping. It don't matter. Next up is our broccoli casserole. So following the simple recipe trend, this is extremely simple. So I cheated just a little bit. I actually got some florets that you can microwave or steam in the microwave, so not a big deal. So 3 bags of those, basically 2 pounds, and I've got, you'll see I finely diced up an onion. All that's already in the pot. So let's get the rest of this stuff going. 1 cup of mayo of your choice. 1 can cream of chicken soup. You can do cream of mushroom. I like cream of chicken. It says 8 ounces of cheese. I like to put a little bit more. That's up to you depending on how cheesy you want it. So in with the cheese. Season it up a little bit to your liking, of course. And you could even go as far if you wanted to put some sort of Creole or whatever seasoning you like. Don't matter. I like lots of black pepper. Alright, now give this a good mix, and we'll top it with the Ritz crackers. Ritz crackers. We got the white cheddar. Crunch these up. I like to leave some big chunks, some small chunks, and we're just putting it on top for the crust on top, basically. So it's just that simple. Just a little more black pepper because we like it. Look, if you've made it this far in the video, you obviously enjoy what you're watching. So go ahead and click that subscribe button down there. Hit the notification bell so you know every time we've got a new hiking, cooking, or whatever kind of stuff we get into and we post it. Appreciate the support. Alright, so this ham and turkey's been cooking for about 3 hours now, roughly. I've been prepping some of the other stuff, so I have checked it a couple of times. Take a look. It don't get any better than that right there, and I promise you, after you brine that turkey the way that I did, and you smoke a good old ham, it's gonna be some good stuff right there. And keep in mind too that as you're cooking a turkey like this on a Weber kettle grill, maybe you know how to do it, maybe not. Temperature control is important, but also about every couple of hours, once you get these things hot, it's actually warming up pretty good today outside. So once you get one of these kettle grills hot, it'll stay hot. So don't forget, when you start seeing the temperature drop and you don't feel like you can open the flue, get any more air to it, create the heat that you need, go ahead and add some more charcoal. I like lump charcoal, but you could do either one. That's just my personal preference. But make sure you're ahead of the game on adding the charcoal, because basically it lights the charcoal you put in on top. You don't have to fool with it anymore. So just a quick tip, keep an eye on your temperature. Make sure you add charcoal accordingly. From my experience, every couple of hours is sufficient. All right, if you'll look at those green beans, I don't know if you can get a good shot of those. They're just kind of simmering nice and easy. Stir these every little bit. See that ham hock in there? So really starting to come around. All right, so we're going to make my soon to be world famous buttermilk biscuits. So before we get started, you see the ingredient list: 2% milk, heavy whipping cream, butter flavored Crisco. I like butter flavored Crisco. I don't use butter, so this is easier to work with. I've had good results. White vinegar. So before we do anything, 1 tablespoon of this into, and this, you see the mixing cup I've got here, just a drinking cup. So 1 tablespoon of white vinegar to 1 cup of milk. But I'm going to go probably 3/4 of a cup of milk, another 1/4 cup of this, just to richen everything up a little bit. Stir that up and let it set for at least a minute. So I do that before I start cutting any of the Crisco in. That way it's soured appropriately. So let's get going. So I'm going to be using about 3/4 or so of this stick. That's the ratio that I typically use. 3 cups, 3/4 of a stick of butter flavored Crisco. And I've also put just a pinch of salt. Do not over salt these. You can over salt biscuits, believe it or not. I've done it. Those of you that cook biscuits know this. I learned the hard way. So I'm just going to take and cut this in. And you can kind of see as I'm just kind of mashing the flour, butter flavored Crisco. I may end up going in with the rest of that stick, but we're just going to work this in till it looks like breadcrumbs. Just like any other biscuit recipe you've seen. Really nothing special about it other than the fact I make my own buttermilk. So let's finish this up. Get it up there where you can see it. You can kind of see this resembles breadcrumbs, as they always say. So this is kind of the consistency that you're looking for. If you find any bigger lumps in there, just kind of grind those in with your hand. Pretty simple. That's why I like the butter flavored Crisco. You get the taste of butter without having to use butter. Make a well in the center of this. We're not going to use all of this. That's just a ratio that I try to keep. So I'm going to pour probably about half of what I had in there and go ahead and start mixing this up. And I will show you the consistency we're looking for. So you can see right here, this dough is kind of starting to come together roughly. This is where you've got to be very careful. Don't put more than about that much in. Maybe even less than that at a time. Don't want to put too much. Continue mixing, and magically when you get just the right amount, a little more, it comes together. I probably make my dough slightly wetter than most, and I'll show you why in a minute. Now, pardon the dog barking, I hope you can hear me over that. You can see the dough has come together. It basically would form a gigantic ball, but you can probably see the sun glistening off of it. A little wetter than normal, so I try not to mix it too much, but here's why I do it the way I do it. So I'm just going to flour my hands up real good, and I do not pat and roll all this out and cut them. I just pat them out and make them about that size. Pretty simple. I like simple. Simple is good. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to finish patting all these out, and I'm going to actually stick these in the refrigerator until it's time to cook, and I'll have to preheat my cast iron and cook these really hot just like you do at home. But pretty simple recipe, so let's finish these up. All right, scallop corn or corn casserole. Gonna go ahead and get this prepped. Never tried this. A co-worker gave me this recipe, so we're gonna give it a shot and see what it tastes like. So right off the bat, 2 eggs in and scrambled, not scrambled, just mixed up, beaten. Cube this up. Takes a little bit of time to do it, but make sure you cube this up. I would imagine this is really important, or they wouldn't have said to do it. So not melting, cubed. This is 3/4 of a stick, not a whole stick. A little sugar. This is an old family recipe, so a little sugar looks about like that to me. 1 cup sour cream. This is a 16-ounce container, so we're going to go about half of that. 1 can creamed corn. 1 cup white corn. I drained it. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a mix initially, and we got one last ingredient. Last ingredient, I'm not a Jiffy cornmeal guy. I am an anti-Jiffy. However, for this recipe, this is what it calls for. I think there's a reason for it. So we're gonna see, we're gonna try it out. Shannon's already over there giggling because she's excited because it's corn casserole. So 1 box Jiffy cornmeal mix, and give it the final stir. Good. All right, it is now 12:30. We are very near getting everything started to cook. So we're going to finish up with one of the desserts. And this is we wanted it to be a tart red cherry, but they didn't have any. So we're going to use peaches. 3 cans of peaches with the juice. 1 can of blueberries without the juice. All right, I usually do 1.5, but I'm going to go with 2 because I want it to be a little bit thicker. Jell-O instant pudding mix. I like the cheesecake flavored, so that's going to be the thickener. Now we're going to give it a good stir. All right, now time for the topping. It's a cake mix. We're going to go with 1 white. We're going to go with about half of a yellow. The reason I don't put the entire thing in is because I feel like it's just too much bread and it's very hard for the bottom. The whole reason we put this in dry is the bottom actually, bottom actually bubbles up and kind of mixes everything up. So if you put too much, it doesn't really break through. So 1.5, 1 yellow, 1 white. You can go either way, it doesn't matter. You can do both whites, both yellows. Then we're going to top it with cubes of butter spread out evenly across the top. Alright, so the apple crisp. This is another very simple recipe. So not a lot to assemble right here because I've got to actually, within this right here, I've got roughly a cup of whole oats, a cup of grape nuts, 3/4 of a cup of grape nuts, and about a half, maybe a little more of self-rising flour. Had to think about that one for a second. So we're going to melt a stick of butter, and we're going to pour all that in, and we're going to put some of this good dark brown sugar in there. Mix that around. You want the mixture overall to be a little bit dry. Butter's just to coat everything. That's going to be our crumble topping. Then we're pulling that out, going back in with the other stick of butter here, and from there we're actually going to cook our apples. We'll put a little bit of nutmeg in there with them and some of this brown sugar. Cook those till they just start to get a little bit tender, because the cooking process will take care of the rest of it. Once that's ready, we put the topping on, set it up, bake it just like you would at home, and it's good to go. So let's head over here and get started. All right, it is a little after 1 o'clock. We're eating at 3, so timing wise, I'm gonna give it a couple of hours. It's pretty easy to keep stuff warm in cast iron. So you can see, pretty simple. Got a trivet on the bottom here. That is the dressing. It's on the very bottom. A little bit of heat under there. I'm not too worried about that. I can add some more, probably will in a little bit, but you see the method I use stacking these, which is not uncommon. Second, we got the hash brown casserole, then we got the broccoli casserole. So I'm gonna wait about 30 minutes, get some more coals out of the fire, because I've pretty much wiped the coals out. And the desserts are gonna go right over here next. Got a couple of more things. And last but not least, maybe 1 hour before we eat, that's when we'll put the biscuits on. So still got some work to do, but it's coming together. All right, update. Everything looks pretty good right now. You'll notice I've got a 4th 10-inch Dutch oven. So we've got the 14, 12, 12, and a 10. I almost forgot. It was like 15 minutes behind everything else. I just about forgot the corn casserole. That would have been a travesty. We got it on there. It's all looking good. We'll try to give you some shots of after we rotate what everything looks like. So stay in the course. I'm about to starve to death. All right, real quick, let's look at everything. Dressing looks pretty good, steaming. And we got the hash brown casserole, got some steam coming out. Now keep in mind, this iron was all pretty cold when we started, so it takes a little bit to get everything going. Got a little steam coming out of that, not a lot. That's the broccoli casserole. And last but not least, we got some good steam coming out of that corn casserole. So I'm gonna get some more coal on this as we replenish. I can't replenish the coal fast enough, it seems like, because I've got so much stuff to cook. But anyways, so we've been on about 30 minutes. That's really a pretty good time to start checking stuff, about 30 minutes in. Again, this is not cooking at home. This is all about temperature control, keeping an eye on it, making sure if we need more heat, throw some more coal on it. So it's warming up out here today, but most of that iron been sitting out and it was kind of cold, so it takes a little bit to get it warmed up. So let's get it all stacked back up, get the heat put where it needs to be, and continue on the process. All right, time for the biscuits. Lodge cook it all. I got the bottom. You see the top over there? It is absolutely critical that you preheat this stuff before you cook with it, because if you don't, your biscuits will not turn out correctly. So I checked this was about 250. The top was about probably 450, 500, and it'll continue to be. So I'll flip it over, put the coals on it, and hopefully they'll be done in about 30 minutes or so. So we'll see, but very critical. Make sure you preheat if you're going to bake in it. All right, we have got the full meal. We got the apple crisp and we got the peach / blueberry cobbler. Got the full Thanksgiving meal. Got the biscuits in here, green beans cooking. So this is now just a matter of waiting, and we got about 30 minutes left. We might be a few minutes late, but I think we'll be all right. So we'll monitor, put heat where it needs to go, and continue on with the process. All right, this is one of the only things besides the biscuits that we're not cooking in the Dutch oven, but cooked this last year, was an absolute huge hit with everybody. So a lot of ingredients here. We'll start out rendering down some bacon, leaving that fat in there. We're gonna toast this corn in that nice, delicious bacon fat. We've got scallions. I wanna keep the white parts separate. We've got the green parts for garnish, a bunch of garlic because Shannon likes garlic and so do I. We've got jalapenos, all the seeds, all the membranes removed because, well, my mother-in-law don't like hot stuff, so we want to keep her happy. Also, to make this cream corn, we're going to have a heavy whipping cream. We've got some sharp smoked applewood cheddar, some smoked Gouda. All this is going to go in, and we'll show you the process. But this right here, this is going to be the hit of the whole thing. The rest of it's going to be good, but this stuff right here is what everybody comes for. So stick around. We're almost to the point to where we can start cooking this. This is going to be good. All right, time to start the cream corn. So we got the bacon in, and we're just going to take and render that until it's crispy, and then we'll move on to the next part of it. But pretty simple to make, just takes a little bit of time. All right, so we got the bacon crisped up nice. We left all the grease. Don't worry, we need all this grease to cook the vegetables right here. So those have been going for about a minute. Then you go in with the garlic. Do not put the garlic in with the rest of it because it'll burn. So you got to go in with it just a little bit later. It's just going to cook for about a minute. Give that a good stir. And another note, you do not have to season this. Between the cheese, the bacon, and everything else, there is plenty of salt. Let that cook for just a minute. All right, so after you've cooked for about a minute for the vegetables, or after you put the garlic in, go about a minute, you're going to put about half the corn in. And what we're going to do is just kind of, remember this corn's frozen. So we got basically a medium heat here. Stir this around. Toast this corn a little bit in the bacon fat, and then we're going to get all that bacon fat out of there. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. So, little trick I learned many years ago cooking. Tilt your pan, get all this grease down here, because the only reason we need it was to cook the corn. And basically, just sop up all the grease with a paper towel. It'll take several of them. Get rid of all the grease, and then we'll be ready to add the next step to this thing. Alright, so I've been telling you this is cream corn for a long time now, so here comes the cream part. So we're just going to pour about a cup. You're not looking to fill everything up. All we're looking to do is get everything coated real good in this heavy cream. And once we do that, we're just going to warm that up a little bit. Then we're going to go in with about 8 ounces. I like sharp cheddar. And we're just going to melt that. Pretty darn simple. Pretty simple. So we're going to keep mixing this till we get this well incorporated and melted. And we'll show you the good stuff after that. Alright, we're happy. Everything's bubbling. We're happy. We're stringy with the cheese. We're going to add this last little bit of corn in there. Give this a good stir. Remember, this is frozen corn. It's probably thawed out a little bit, not a lot. So we're going to add that last little bit of corn. Like to toast about half of it in the bacon grease. The other half we're just adding, make it nice and bright. That cheese. Oh yeah. I'm gonna go in the bacon. This, my friends, is the star of the show. I don't care what anybody says. We don't care about no stinking turkey. We just want the cream corn. Mix this up good. One more step after this, and we'll show you a trick. Another trick. I'm full of tricks today. All right, so here's my other trick. So you can make this in the Dutch oven if you wanted to. We've used all the Dutch ovens, as you can see over there. There's a lot of them being used. So I want to melt the cheese on the top, just to give it kind of a crusty layer. So I got the old benzomatic torch out. We're just going to go around this, melt everything down really, really good. And by the way, the cheese you want to use for this, don't get the cheap stuff in the bag. Get a block of cheese and shred it yourself. It doesn't have all the stuff in it. It keeps it from sticking. It melts much, much better. That's where you got the good stringiness from. I was showing you earlier. So always shred your own cheese if possible. You can do it with either one, but it's just a lot better. So we'll get this browned up real good on the top. And it's almost time to eat. And last but not least, a good shot of that. See that brown on there? Just a little bit, not much. Last thing we're going to put on, save the scallions. Told you to save the scallions. We got whites and we got the greens, but we're going to save that, put that on for a nice garnish. And that, my friends, is how you finish the start of the show. So let's get all this stuff ready, because I'm about, well, I done told you 15 times I'm hungry. Everybody else hungry?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Shannon, you hungry?
Always.
She says she don't like being on camera, but I think she lies.
If it'll get my food done quicker.
Abby's not shy with the camera. Abby, you hungry? Abby helped me giggle at Mom for getting lost last time we was hiking, but it's okay. Alex, how about you? You hungry?
Yeah.
All right, let's get this stuff ready to go. All right, we started this at 6:30 this morning. And finally, look at everybody. I got all kinds of people here. Hey, Brooke. It's one of Addison's teammates. And Addison, everybody, Shane, you ain't getting out of this one. Let's go over the menu right here. We've got our Black Forest smoked ham, our brined and smoked turkey. We've got our hash brown casserole. We've got our broccoli casserole. We've got our homemade cornbread dressing. Those green beans in there have been cooking all day. Homemade buttermilk biscuits. And like I told you, the star of the show, the cream corn. The only thing we have left, we got a couple of cobblers still in the fire. Those have a little ways to go. I started them later on purpose. So I almost forgot. The star of the show's here, but next to it's the new recipe. We introduced this one this year. This is the corn casserole with a coal in the middle of it. That's all right. We're going to eat it anyway. So we cannot forget about this. We're going to see if this was good enough to stay on the menu for next year. I'm ready to eat. We are ready to eat. So let's chow down with this thing. Lord, I thank you for the day that you've given us. I'm thankful that we live in a country where we can celebrate all the things that have been bestowed upon us over the years, over the days, and we can spend this day giving thanksgiving for that as a family, with friends. God, I thank you for your many blessings. Thank you for your grace, for your mercy, for all that you've done for me. Pray that you bless this food to our body, and pray that you continue to pour out your blessings upon me and my family for the rest of the year, for years to come. In the name of your Son, Jesus, amen. Day, but we've had a great meal and a great time of fellowship with friends and family. So just real quick, for those of you that really want to look at these recipes, and as stated before, I've got them in the description below. So just a couple of key points, and As I do this, this is the 3rd year in a row that we have actually camped and cooked our Thanksgiving meal. This is something I started about 3 years ago, a very simple meal, 3 or 4 sides and a turkey and a ham, and something I continue to plan on doing for years to come as far as I'm concerned, as long as we can do it. But as we do these recipes, I try to keep them the same every year, and I tweak them a little bit. This is not something that I go out and practice cooking. This is pretty much Thanksgiving only is when I cook this stuff. So just real quick, a couple of things just to be mindful of. And you may know some of this already, and that's okay. The green beans, I made one mistake with the green beans. They were good, but I just about cooked all the liquid out of them. So once you get those green beans in a pot or a Dutch oven, once you get those simmering real good, you need to be sure to keep an eye on those and don't let all the liquid boil out of them. So again, green beans were good. We didn't mess them up, but I was real close. Just a quick tip there. Number 2, the turkey. I don't think I showed this in the video. The turkey and the ham both, once they get a couple hours of smoke on them, go ahead and wrap those up. And I basically quit replenishing coals after the 2nd round. So we smoked at about 300 degrees or so for a couple hours, maybe 3 hours at the most, and that stuff got wrapped up. And from that point on, I checked the temperature with an internal thermometer. We were at 165 where we wanted to be with a turkey breast, and at that point it was just a matter of letting it sit on the smoker and stay warm till we were finished with everything else. The dressing. Last year I made the dressing really wet, and it was good. The flavor was great, as was this year. However, this year I cut back on about half the liquid. So really, in reality, it looks good in the pan. Need to put a little bit more liquid in there than what I had. So just a key note in the description, I'll probably modify that recipe a little bit to add a little bit more liquid to it. So flavor was fantastic, and that is a genuine homemade. That's just something I found on the internet and kind of made into my own. As far as the rest of it goes, it was great. Biscuits were great. Everything turned out fantastic. The only other note, if you're going to do an undertaking like this right here, that I would say is it is very difficult to keep enough coals to cook everything appropriately. That was my biggest struggle. So a couple of things that I feel like would be better, and this is what I'll do next year because I like to do things and learn from it. So we started a fire early. However, before it's time to cook, you really need to put a lot of wood on the fire. Smaller pieces are better because it'll create coal, because you need that coal. And like I said, I struggled to get enough coal on some of this stuff just to get it cooked. It all turned out great. Also, the thing that I would do is stage what I'm cooking. For example, the hash brown casserole, the broccoli casserole, go ahead and start cooking that stuff about 3 hours ahead of time because it's going to take about an hour and a half or so to cook it. Go ahead and cook it while you're replenishing coals. You're not trying to cook every single dish at the same time. It's just a lot easier, I think, next year if we just stage stuff and cook about half of it, put it to the side, keep it warm because it's not a problem to do that, then cook the other half. So other than that, a lot of work, but it is a labor of love as far as I'm concerned because I really enjoy doing this. And listen, if you're watching this video, hopefully I get a whole lot of new subscribers from this, but a whole lot of new people that just enjoy this kind of content. Leave a comment below if you have a recipe or some sort of tip or trick because I'm all ears when it comes to learning how to do this stuff because I love learning and I love being outside and I love doing this. So again, thank you all for watching this video. I hope you all had as great a Thanksgiving as we had here at Blue Ridge Family Outdoors, and I'm looking forward to showing you something in the near future. Thanks again.